In the world of budget-friendly tools, there's a brand called VEVOR, and they're available on Amazon, on their own VEVOR site, and also on HomeDepot.com, where you can actually have stuff ordered through their site. And in today's video, I have two things that I'm gonna be reviewing from VEVOR. One of them is the new battery-powered dual-action polisher from VEVOR. Full transparency, I bought this personally on Amazon. We'll go over the pricing here shortly. And then the next unit we're gonna be reviewing is this guy here. This is a, I think it's a 2000 PSI, 1.76 GPM rated electric pressure washer. And again, full transparency, they actually did send this one to me. There's things that I like and don't like about both of these units. Probably a little more than I do like about the polisher, and with the pressure washer, there's a bit that I don't like. So we'll get into that. First though, let's go ahead and talk about the dual action polisher. All right, guys, so here it is, right? Dual action polisher. It doesn't state what size millimeter throw it has. It is a 6-inch backing plate, and I believe it's at least around a 15 millimeter throw. It didn't feel like a tight kind of 8 millimeter type. It didn't feel super long. So I think it's right in that sweet spot. That's my personal preference, is using a 15 millimeter, and this felt right about there. Hopefully I'm not wrong about that and I'm not way off, but that's what it seemed like. Now the price for this polisher that comes with 2 batteries, the polisher itself, the 6-inch backing plate, a little bag, and a bunch of accessories. You get some pads, and then you also get some microfiber towels. Those to me personally are just throwaway. I wouldn't use those personally. I have pads that I recommend and like much more. Again, since this is a 6-inch backing plate, I typically use a 5-inch, but I wanted to test this as it comes. So we're gonna be using the Platinum Series brand of polishing pads. They're new, they're available at Walmart. And just, we're gonna get into that more and more, the actual testing. But when I was using that 6-inch pad from Platinum Series on this, it actually felt very, very smooth. There wasn't a lot of vibration in the machine. The only sort of, usually the vibration's up here and you feel it in your hands. I was getting a little bit of a rattle back here, and it's just probably that the battery's not like secure, which is pretty standard across the board with most polishers. The Rupes is the only one that like fits on there, almost seeming too secure. Let me grab that for you. So right here, guys, this battery sits in here so tight that it's almost hard to get on and off. It's very, very secure. But like I said, the Milwaukee, everyone, like all those other ones, you get a little bit of play, especially over time. Not a big deal. Again, it's not like moving around on me. It's just while I was using it, I did feel a little bit of kind of loose connection point there. But overall, I really, really like the polisher. Now, continuing on and talking about the battery, they give you 2 4-amp-hour batteries along with the charger. The 4-amp-hour battery is interesting. So all these other brands kind of typically ship with a 5-amp-hour battery. There was that one polisher that I reviewed from Amazon. Populo was the brand. I have it over here. I'll go ahead and show you guys this one as well. So this is the Populo one. And this one, the thing that I didn't like about this especially was I don't like the digital gauge personally. And I didn't like the battery charger. It was one of those ones that just plugs in the wall and then barely attaches to the battery. And it heated up while I was charging it, and I didn't like that. Outside of that, the polisher worked great. It comes with a 5-inch backing plate, which is my preferred size. And this thing's even cheaper than the VEVOR. This thing came in at like, I think when I first reviewed this, it was like 99 bucks, and right now it's like 87 or something like that. So I'll link this in the description for you guys too. But just something to know. I do like the 5-inch better on this. However, overall user experience, I have to say the VEVOR is quite a pleasure to use. But back to what I was saying is the battery. It's kind of, it's thin and long versus this that is thicker and shorter. And I personally, now the way this sits into the machine, I personally like the shorter, stubbier ones, but the way this sits in here, it doesn't really affect anything because the short part is here, right? It's not like this long piece is sticking out into the way. So not a big deal there. I will go ahead and say though, the housing on this thing is purely plastic all over, and it doesn't sound like the best plastic. So I'm sure if you got rough with this, it'll crack very, very, I don't want to say very easily. I don't know that for sure. But again, as we get into the testing, we'll cover it now. Battery life on this, I was polishing, wiping up, going to the next panel, polishing. I got about 30 minutes of actual usable time out there with these batteries. So again, with 2 of them, you're gonna get about an hour of runtime. I'm currently charging the one that I depleted all the way to see exactly how long that takes to charge. So as that finishes, I'll update you guys. So let's go ahead and talk about the features of the polisher. Again, 6-inch backing plate, I believe 15 millimeter throw, somewhere around there. It has a really nice, soft, kind of grippy textured handle, as well as the head of the unit. It has nice little bump stops here so that when you lay it on its back, it's sitting on that, not just rubbing on the plastic. And I like that idea. However, because this battery is so long, it doesn't quite function the way, I mean, it does. So it rests where it should. But again, the battery doesn't have anything on it, and that I think could be a weak point over time. Now, as far as the trigger goes, it is a progressive trigger. So you can just pull it. It's on full speed right now. Yep, I'll pull it. So, wait a second, is it, or is it just a slow start? There's slower. Yes, it is a progressive trigger. Not super precise, but it is a progressive trigger. Now let's go ahead and run through the whole area or the whole range of power. They state that there's 6 speeds to it, but in between each speed, there is a click. And can you hear that, I hope? So you can feel it move, and then it also clicks. So you get the audible and the tactile feel of it, which I like. Let's go ahead and just turn it on at low speed, and I'll just kind of tell you where I can actually hear a change in it. So again, it says 6, but we'll see if there's even more than that. So there's 1, no change. 2, no change. 3, a slight change there, so that's 4. Now that we're on proper 4, it didn't change, so it's just off a little bit there, but still, we're at 4 speeds. Nothing. 5. Nothing. 6. So 6. It feels like it's every other step for the most part, but you do get the full 6. It just, you can hear it change. Again, there's 12 audible tactile ticks throughout, or just about there, but you have 6 different speeds. Another thing to note though is the button here on the side, right? So this is where you can, let me turn this on low so it's not too loud. This is where you can turn it on, compress this, and then it locks it in place. What I don't like about it is that it sits pretty deep in there. So I feel like this could have stuck out a little bit more, and then once you compress it, I would like it if it was flush there, versus going all the way in. Just a preference. Is something while I was using it, I did miss the locking mechanism a couple times, but again, it's probably something you get used to. So really quickly, guys, let's go ahead and take a weight measurement of this thing. Now, as far as dimensions go, the new Rupes battery-powered machine is known to be very, very small. And this one's, man, you know what? It's not far off. The only thing that is making it taller is the extra length of that battery. Let's go ahead and take a weight measurement. We're on pounds and ounces. 5 pounds, 8.5 ounces. 5 pounds, 8.5 ounces. This guy is 5 pounds, 10.7 ounces. So also a very light machine. The Populo, I don't know. Let's just throw that on here real quick. 5 pounds, 10.1 ounces. So yeah, they're all, I mean, within 2 ounces of each other, so they're all lightweight. Now let's go ahead and get into the actual use case of this machine. I have my Kia Telluride out front. I wanted to go and prep that for a ceramic coating because there's a couple of coatings out in the market that I'm gonna be testing side by side coming up. So I wanted to get the paint prepped for it. I'm just doing a single pass. I'm not going for absolute perfection, but I clayed down the surface, polished, and then went to polish it. So with this, I used the, let's see here, polishing pad from the Platinum Series brand. And with that pad, guys, again, I prefer a 5-inch, but with this 6-inch backing plate, the balance felt very, very good. I was actually surprised by it. Went over it one pass. I was actually using the the blue bottle from Rupes for the polish, and it cleaned the paint up right away. It did a fantastic job. This machine felt like it had plenty of power, and really did a good job. So let's go ahead and look at the paint. It's hard to see, but let's go ahead and look at that real quick. So guys, as you can see, this is a section I haven't polished yet. And to be honest, it's really hard to pick it up on the screen, but there's some like ghosting in the paint right here. There you go, you can see it right there. There's also some micro marring going back from the clay. And this is the part that has been polished now, and it's looking absolutely perfect. So, well, I take that back. It was a single pass. I'm doing an enhancement here before coating it. I'm using a regular polish from Rupes, along with that Platinum Series pad from Walmart, along with the VEVOR polisher. I'm using that pad again because it's a 6-inch pad on a 6-inch backing plate. But yeah, I'm very, very happy with the results. It's looking fantastic. I gotta say, guys, the vibration on this machine is very, very minimal when it's paired with that that pad from Platinum Series. it feels really, really good in the hand, not a lot of vibration. So I'm gonna keep going and see how long the battery actually lasts. Okay, so as you can see, so far, the performance of it, I'm very happy with. It's not bogging down on me, at least on those big flat surfaces, right? So let's go ahead and see the runtime now. So I'm gonna keep going around the vehicle as much as I can. Again, I'm not going crazy on this. I'm not sitting on the panel for too long. I'm just doing an enhancement, getting it cleaned up, and this thing ran for approximately 30 minutes of actual usable time, right? So polishing, put it down real quick, wipe it up, add some more product, go to the next panel, and so forth, right? So I got about 30 minutes of usable time. I will note that I did the whole hood, passenger fender, passenger front door, and then I felt the machine start to slow down a little bit. Back door, no problem at all. Now on the harder edges, at the top of the door sill, where there's a hard body line, I was bogging down there. The pad was just shaking at that point. And that's a safety mechanism of a dual action polisher. It's the rotation that creates all the heat. When it's just vibrating, it's just kind of shimmying on there. It's much, much safer, so you're not worrying about burning the paint as much. So it was no problem. I was just had to go at a different angle, kind of a diagonal, and kind of work it. Had no issue. It came out really, really well. Now, by the time I went on to the back quarter fender, the rear fender, that's where I felt it slowing down quite a bit. So I even tried to adjust it. I was at full speed at the 6, tried to adjust it down. I didn't hear any change until I got to 3, and then from there it kept working, and then tried to go back up. That was it. So it kind of dropped its power capacity or performance capacity down to the 3, and then kept working there. Now the Rupes, again, guys, this thing, they designed so that the battery capacity works at full rate and then it's dead. It doesn't kind of dwindle that way. Now, there's two sides to that, right? Would I prefer a 2 minutes of runtime, or let me take that back. Would I prefer that this machine ran for 10 minutes at half capacity or 2 minutes at full capacity? Personally, I don't know. I would prefer full capacity and then dead. Honestly, I think that would be my goal, because at the same time, I'm sitting there, I'm very guilty of it, is where I'm working and I can feel that the power's not there. And I'm like, no, I'll just work with that and keep going. And then sometimes I wipe up the panel, I'm like, I didn't correct as much as I wanted to. Then I end up having to go over it again, switch batteries, get my full power again, go again. So I would prefer the Rupes style over that. But again, guys, let's go ahead and talk pricing on this thing now, because that's where this thing really shines. Now, I have some notes here. If you can buy this on Amazon, they offer it in a 1 battery or a 2 battery kit. I recommend definitely going with the 2 batteries. So that's the only pricing I'm going to give you here. On Amazon, it is $149.99. And then on their own personal site, on the VEVOR website, it is $111.99 currently. So fantastic value, like incredible value. And I have to say, guys, this got in my way a little bit. It's not bad. When you have a pad on it, you have a good amount of clearance. I prefer the Milwaukee's where the batteries actually turn sideways, or the Flex machines where it's sideways and completely out of the way, but it's not bad. I think it actually has more clearance than the Rupes does. Let's see here. Yeah, for sure. So keep that in mind. And the Rupes isn't a problem either. You can learn to work with it, right? If you're coming up on a weird angle, you turn it sideways, you go upside down, whatever. The fact that it's battery powered far outweighs any other of the downsides of it. And I have to say, guys, just using this thing, I would have no problem going out in my professional detailing business and using this. It was comfortable, it worked well. Longevity is the only question here, and I have no idea currently, right? I used it on 1 car or half of a car so far, and it's performing great. It's just, again, over time, I don't know. That's going to have to be a wait to be seen. So, but that's it, guys. I wanted to bring this thing to your attention. Again, as a backup tool, this thing is really phenomenal, I think. The backing plate is so-so. I probably, again, when you paired it with those 6-inch pads, it felt very, very balanced. You can definitely change this out to a 5-inch backing plate. So consider that. That's probably what I would do, and then switch over to using like the Rupes pads that I'm just very used to. But overall, very, very happy with this thing. The performance, like it says, no load speed, 2,300 to 3,800 RPM. Those numbers don't really mean anything to me. It's more how it actually feels in the hand, and it felt really good, except on the hard edges. It did bog down a little bit, but I was able to adjust and get it all done, no problem. So the VEVOR Polisher for $112 on their own website for a 2 battery system, I think is a a home run. I like it a lot. One thing I don't like though is, and again, this is no knock against the performance of this thing, it's just this. Why, like, it's your guys' brand, right? If VEVOR made this, they have all this proper VEVOR colored orange. I think that's like kind of matches with their website. And then the orange on the battery is like not even close. So this is more red than orange. So I don't know. Again, not a big deal, but just something to know. Again, the battery does seem a little bit cheap. I think that'll crack over time. Outside of that, I really like it. So now let's go ahead and move on to the pressure washer. Now they have this one available on Amazon. They also have it obviously on their own website. And there's a few different variations. You can get it without the reel. You can get it with the reel. You can get it with the reel with a 1.65 GPM flow rate or a 1.76 flow rate. So there's kind of a lot going on there. This one is the 1.76 GPM flow rate. I haven't tested it yet. I just assembled the thing and that's where we're at. So I just want to give you guys a quick overview. One thing I do not like about it is the hose reel is nice that it stays connected and you can actually use it to function. It's a pain. And the unit's so lightweight, if I actually try it, it's just gonna fall over. So you would have to kind of, I don't know, it's nice for storage, but it's not, I don't know if it's worth it. And then because that, you know, adjusting and making it, upgrading your hose and things like that would make it a little bit tricky. It does have a standard connection. I don't know if that's an M22 by 14 or by 15. Let me check. And it is an M22 by 15. So if you did want to upgrade your hose, most aftermarket hoses are going to be an M22 14 millimeter. And basically what that is this outer ring is the M22. The size of this inner diameter here, it's either a 14 or 15 size. And in this case, it's a 15. If you try to use the 14, it's not going to fill the gap properly and you're going to have leaks. So you would have to run an adapter. I'll put all that stuff in the description for you guys. Now the next thing to talk about is the hose quality itself. So, I almost pulled it over. Right away, the quick connection point is like this, which is not my favorite. I've just looked into this a little bit more and I've found some benefits to this for sure. However, let me pull this out of here. So you just basically take it, you're able to push it in, clicks into place. You still have a swivel to it, which I do see the benefit there. Now, when you go into like the super high end, super high PSI pressure washers, I don't know if this is the best for that, but at these ratings, it should be fine. And then you just simply click that, pull it out. Now this also though, the hose is coming out in front of the handle, which is again, not my preferred style because it just gives you more opportunity to rub it against the car, potentially causing marring. Let's see here. So I'm gonna go and wind this back up. And yeah, it's just not the easiest thing to use. Another benefit though of this hose is it is 30 feet, so that's nice. The unit itself is pretty small. It's a relatively small unit here. You have a basic toggle on-off switch in the front. You do have your storage. This is the little connection point to the water outlet to your hose. And this kind of gets in the way. So when you go and try and put the gun there, it's like really rubbing against it. So again, I think there's just some things that weren't completely thought through with it, in my personal opinion, and take that for what it's worth. But you do have, let me pull out again. You do have the extension lance, and it is this kind where you just push it in, twist and set it in. And then you do have this ability too, where you can actually pop this out and change the angle of it, which is kind of cool. That functions well. Now this connection point though is a sturdy, I think it's metal. It feels much more robust than just a standard plastic. But yeah, so the build quality, even though these aren't my favorite, the build quality is okay. It doesn't seem like to be the worst thing at all. The soap blaster that it comes with, I'm not even gonna test this thing, guys. This is just, for me, a complete throwaway. If you're spraying it on your, it's gonna apply soap. It's not gonna be a foam. So just keep that in mind. I'm not even gonna test it, like I said. This is the hanger for it here, and it actually just takes onto the neck, push it in, and it pops into place. You have your water inlet on the back here, which I like. It's all, one direction, keeps everything nice and simple. And then this hanger here you can use to put your power cord on. One thing to note is they do give you 5 tips. They give you a turbo nozzle, a 0 degree, 15, 25, and a 40. There's nowhere to store them on the machine itself. So again, not the end of the world. At least not that I've found. Could you? Yeah, no. So, I don't know. Again, it's just maybe not thought all the way through. It does have wheels, and they're just hard plastic with a little bit of a tread print to them. Again, nothing crazy, but they'll help move it around. And the unit's pretty lightweight as well, so not a big deal. Pricing, I have some notes here. On Amazon, 120 bucks, and on their own website, $109.99. So I'll link both of those down below. So you guys, if you're interested in this one, you can check it out. Now, right on the side, no, on the back here, they actually list it. So like I said, it's rated at 2000 PSI, 1.76 GPM. However, they actually list on here rated pressure, 1300 PSI, and rated flow, the flow is 1.2 GPM, max flow being 1.76. So if you leave the nozzle off, you'll get 1.76. And again, a lot of people are like, hey, why do they list those numbers so high when that's not what they actually get? And it's a standard across the industry. It's the maximum like burst rate, I guess, when you initially release the trigger, that is the max PSI that the machine gets. Same with the flow. But I appreciate that they actually do list the actual numbers there. Now we're gonna test that here shortly, but again, I appreciate that they include that. It does state 13 amps. So let's go ahead and test this thing. All right, guys, so we got the unit here. I'm about to hook it up to water. I just wanted to really quickly bring up the gun again. And it almost feels hollow, sounds hollow. I don't know. It seems like a nice metal lance all the way through to here. I don't know what's going on back behind here. But even the trigger feels like a decent amount of resistance to pull it. Not the most comfortable thing, so keep that in mind. Let me go ahead and hook up the water and we'll fire this thing on. Always with a pressure washer that has the hose reel, just go ahead and unwind the whole thing. If you leave the hose corded up when the pressure builds, you could have failures down the road. Again, I don't remember if we talked about really the quality of this hose. Again, it is 30 feet, which is nice, but it's not the most flexible thing. And right there, boom, kinked, and it stays in the line. So as you see, kinks, and then you look at it. Let me see if you guys can actually see it here. Boom, right? And yeah, so you can see that. Eventually, over time, that can create a weak point, and then you can get blowouts from that. So, again, not the best, but at least they put in some effort and made it longer and all that kind of good stuff. So, plug it in here. Yeah, as far as the nozzles go, they're all listed as a 1.9 size orifice. So, we only have to test one, because since they're all the same size, inner diameter, they're all going to get the same amount of PSI and GPM. Again, with this connection point, I can't put my meter there like I normally do. So I do have this little contraption here that I made, put it together so we can actually test it at the nozzle. Again, just because we can't test it back here. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw this tip in here. We'll test the GPM. Let me go ahead and fire it on. This unit does state that it has the total stop system, meaning when you release it, it turns off. So let's go ahead and test that. All right, guys, so the water is on. Sort of checking for leaks anywhere at these connection points for this hose reel or anything. So far, everything looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and take this back off. We're gonna pull the trigger and let the air purge out of the line. So you hear that air release? So let that go for a little bit. Let the water get here. There we go. Took a little bit of time, but I am running on a longer hose, so fair enough. All right, that looks good. We're gonna go ahead and fire it on. So yeah, total stop, no problem. There was no squeak at the end. So it actually sounds okay. Let's go ahead and plug in the meter and test that. Let me go ahead and pull the trigger here. So spot on, we're at 40 degrees. 1300 PSI with the 40 degree nozzle. Let me go ahead and grab my phone so you guys can see that. All right, so here's the nozzle. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the trigger again. So there you go, 1300 PSI. Like it states, I believe it said 1300 was the actual, yeah. So they're accurate on the actual rated so far. Let me go ahead and test the GPM now. Again, they have it listed at 1.2 is actual usable. So let's go ahead and see. I'm gonna go ahead and do a timer for 1 minute. We're just gonna let it flow in there, and then we'll stop it after a minute and see how much water there is. All right, so there is 1 minute. Again, guys, the machine sounds pretty nice and precise. There's not a weird wind up, not a squeak afterwards. I'm not smelling any burning scent to it. From the reviews look pretty good, and they do state that VEVOR has fantastic customer service. That's on the Amazon listing. So I don't, that's all I have to say. I've never experienced it myself, but yeah, the flow is not great, guys. We're at 4.5 quarts. So I'm not going to do the weight because, again, this number's not crazy anyway. But at 4.5 quarts, that puts us at 1.125 GPM. So they have it listed at 1.2. It's not. It's 1.125. Yeah, I don't know. It's just not a lot of flow. The pressure's okay. 13. Again, these numbers aren't crushing anything by any means. Are they okay? Yeah, they'll get some work done for sure. There are some, I don't know. It's one of those things, like you can also get, if you want the wheels and the hose reel, then go with this. Although I don't recommend this hose reel. It's kind of a pain. We'll show you that in a second here. The Ryobi's, the 1800 PSI, it's on sale at Home Depot right now for like $100. I'd probably go that route, personally. This thing's okay. I mean, it's definitely doing the job. It's pretty close to what they state accurately. But again, with this nozzle, it's a 1.9. We're getting 1300 PSI. Let me just go ahead and change out the nozzle real quick. I have some larger ones over here. These are all going to be too big, I think. Yeah, let me grab a 2.5. That's the smallest one I have. Before I switch it over, though, I'm going to put the 1.9 back on and test the amperage real quick. So it's just right over here. I'll be right back. So we're running under what they have stated for the amperage. I'm at like 10.85 amps. So it could definitely take a smaller orifice nozzle. It'll bump the amperage up, increase your PSI, but you're going to get even worse GPM. So let's go ahead and go to the 2.5 nozzle. Yep, here we go. Let's see what the PSI rating is here. About 975. So let's just for fun, let's go ahead and test the GPM on that, because 975 is okay if you're working on your car. But again, the flow needs to be there at that rate. So if it's not there, then, not the best here. So here we go. All right, guys, so there's 1 minute again. That's with the 2.5 orifice nozzle, and we increased. We're a little over 5 quarts now. Still not great. I think that is actually 1.2 GPM now, so slightly over that. But now we're down to the 1.75 or 975 PSI. So again, just not great numbers. There's better options out there. I appreciate VEVOR for sending this to me, but my recommendation on the pressure washer would probably be to go, again, if you have it, I think it's decent, right? If you're looking at buying one, I think there are some other options out there. So the polisher, though, I think that's a great value. Again, longevity, I don't know that yet, but as far as performance and the feel of it, I was happy with it. So that's it for today's video, guys. I hope that helps. Please make sure to like the video, make sure you subscribe, and again, check out VEVOR's site, because I've been happy with a lot of their items. The flooring is fantastic. That polisher is great. I've had other stuff from them as well. I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but yeah, this one, not their best, but decent. So that's it, guys. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.